You're listening to Only in Seattle.
Are bars a good investment?
It depends on what you're investing for. Like for me, I had spent 70 hours a week probably for ever building a legacy group. And
A mortgage company.
Right, and that had cost me a lot in terms of personal relationships that I didn't spend time on.
Yep. Kids, wife.
Other things.
Yep,
and
stuff.
And I was just done when we had when everything went down at the end. I was like, yeah, this is just something I'm not interested in repeating, and I'm over it. And being with partners at that point in time was great because you had people to bounce ideas off of. But the bar ownership thing, what I love is I'm 100% like when I wake up in the morning and look at the numbers, I know who's at fault if it went poorly because it's me. And I know who gets the credit if it went well because it's me, because I'm the only guy in the loop. Now it's a little bit weird because, again, I don't see myself as like that typical bar owner. So like I know some other bar owners, and there's some relationship with that, but some of the kind of the excitement of doing it together is not there in what I'm doing now. But the freedom it gives me is tremendous because it's just a matter of, here's how it's going to go today, and here's how it'll go tomorrow.
So you can kind of project, based on your numbers, you can project your revenue to a certain point.
Right.
And you also know, okay, there's probably, and we've talked about it on your Off the Rails bar in Bellevue, there is room for improvement, there's room for growth,
right,
which means there's more room for you. So somebody can make a living off of 1 bar, 2 bars, 3 bars. It's just a matter of how much involvement they want to have and how well they want to.
Oh yeah, to have it run.
Have it run.
Yeah, because I can put the model together, so I never have to be there, but I'm going to sacrifice a certain amount of income to be able to do that.
How do you go about buying a bar? Like, can you finance them? Is it owner financing? It's not like buying a house.
It's almost always owner financed.
Okay. So you bring a down payment in.
Right.
How much of a percentage? And what is a
depends on how desperate
bar?
The seller is, really.
Right.
I mean,
are we talking a few $100,000 to buy a bar?
You better be prepared to have a couple $100,000 available to you because you're going to have what you need to invest to get into it.
Yep.
And then you're going to have the things that, even though you do your best due diligence to figure out what you've got,
go sideways on you after.
You've got to have, because there are things that
contingency funds.
Right. Yeah. And you're just going to need to have that. You've got, insurance, business insurance for a bar is not cheap. The way the cash flow works, everything is due at the beginning of the month. So, you pay the state, you pay your rent, you pay your people, all at the same time. So you've got to be able to have that reserve cash in hand to be able to make things work well out of the gate.
Yep.
And that's going to make a huge impression on the clients because all the clients know that ownership has changed, and you've got to make an impression out of the gate. Here's who I am, and here's how things are going to work.
So you need to have cash in the bank in case the previous bar owner did not pay state tax, and then you get nailed by the state and they clear out your bank accounts.
Those kinds of things are bound to happen from here to there.
It could happen.
It could, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's a theoretical
Theoretically,
situation.
that could happen to just about anybody. What's nice is typically the state agencies make more money when the new business owner is succeeding than they do by putting him out of business just to get a few bucks.
So you can almost view them as a partner.
Right. And I feel like that's the most interesting thing to me is like I think every business is the same. Like I could show you mortgage and bar, and it's like, hey, with the mortgage company, the DFI was our group. And some people at the DFI worked with you as a partner. Some people at the DFI did not work with you as a partner.
Yeah.
With bar ownership, I have pull tabs in my bars too. So I have the gambling commission to deal with, and I have liquor and cannabis board.
So you have a liquor license. You have a gambling license?
Yep. And then we have a health permit to serve food.
Right. Okay.
And,
so you're heavily regulated.
Yeah. And all of those groups can either be your friends or not. And again, it all just depends on who you are and how you interact with them.
You own a neighborhood bar. I own a real estate brokerage and an appraisal company. And I am way less regulated than just about any business out there on the broker side of things.
Probably true.
There's minimal oversight.
I forgot about L&I too. They're good times.
Yeah, you got L&I.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got that as well.
Right.
But there isn't huge oversight. You've got a lot of employees. Let's talk about that. What are your biggest expenses on an ongoing basis? If you were to kind of go, okay, number one is rent, number two is payroll, number three is food cost. How does that look for owning a neighborhood bar?
Well, I mean, the numbers are pretty reasonable. You've got, rent, which differs. Obviously, from Snohomish to Kenmore to Bellevue, the rent difference is gigantic,
right.
And so the biggest challenge that the Bellevue bar has is rent, because being in Bellevue is just
That's like
different.
double or triple the Kenmore bar? Is that
I want to say it's triple the Kenmore bar.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's bigger space.
Yeah, but it's
not triple the space.
Right. No, not at all.
Right. And not triple the income.
No, it's not. But, it's a different clientele. So the disposable income that is made with the pull tabs is different in Bellevue than it is in Kenmore. Generally, when you own a bar, if you have pull tabs in it, you want to see your bar be able to pay its rent with the profits that you make from the gambling part of the deal.
Right.
And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. You're gambling when they're gambling, but typically you do all right with it. But it's
and you do really well. So I guess going back to that,
yeah.
How does that look like in order? So you've got rent. We start off with rent.
Food costs and liquor costs go hand in hand.
Okay.
But you never make as much money selling food as you do selling liquor. Yeah.
Okay.
So, whenever it comes to food, you've got your food cost, you've got your cook cost, and then you price it to try to be able to sell it. So you're not ever, the profits you make on food, it's almost like food is a loss leader in the bar business. You make a little bit of money on it, but it's not significant. Where with liquor and beer, that the pricing on liquor and beer is where you make more profit to be able to keep things working well. But the food is never as profitable as the liquor and alcohol sales are.
Okay, and then payroll after that.
Yeah, and so if you go in order, it's rent, payroll, and then the biggest expenses are your food and your liquor.
Okay,
and you've got the other incidentals, insurance, the things you have to have, but that's just the way it is. Yeah,
and I've talked with you and. You make really good owning money as the owner of a bar on pull tabs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And why is that?
To be honest, and I'm very straightforward with my clients when they come in. I've got, I'll come in and they're like, "Hey, I'm donating to the Flitsch Family College Fund today," and
I'm going to take a run at this, and it's probably not going to work out. But Dan, I want you to benefit.
Right. Congratulations, Dan, you're winning. And I try to be people will ask me, they're like, "Hey, which tank should I play in?" And I'm very honest with them. I'm like, "Hey, got to be honest with you. No matter what tank you play in, I'm going to win." But
because the house always wins.
Yeah, and it's because trust me, it's not up there for the benefit. It's not up there so I can give my money away. It's not. And
how often do you have a big payout on?
It's probably about every other week or so. There's something big that goes out the door, but there's enough play that goes on that even on days that big payouts go out, it's we keep a reserve because we have some tanks that have $2,500 winners in them.
Wow.
Which,
okay. So that would be a big, every couple of weeks, you might have a $2,500.
Maybe once a month. We're giving
How
away.
excited are those people?
They're kind of pumped about it, but I honestly, there are times where I'm like, I should get my Series 6 and I should just sit back here. And when they come in, kind of like the dude in Vegas Vacation with Chevy Chase, where he's just like, "How about I just kick you in the nuts? You give me half the money you were going to spend, and we call it good."
Yeah.
And no, because I'm like, if instead I was just like, "Hey, let's take a quarter of the money you were about to put into pull tabs. Go ahead and play pull tabs, but let's just take a quarter of this. Let's put it aside.
Yeah.
Let's throw it into something crazy like Amazon or something and see what happens."
Be their investment advisor.
Right. Yeah. I feel like it might be an excellent combo.
Bar owner / investment advisor. For those people who've had a few drinks, come into some money and need to place it right on the spot.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
But you know, I mean, I've spent enough time in Vegas. I get it. I mean, it's fun. You do,
Right.
but it's for me, it's a successful
part of the
day.
experience,
Right.
And it's another kind of thing that you have at the bar. People can go in there, they can drink, they can eat, they can throw darts, they can play pool,
Right.
They can play pull tab. It's kind of that neighborhood sports bar experience,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, and I feel like in general, I don't want to get too far, you know, into the weeds or anything, but it's. I sit there on a daily basis, and I'm like, you look at your life, and you want to be able to have a net positive benefit on society in overall in what you're doing,
Right?
And you know, trust me, when I was first getting into the bars, I'm like, is this really something I want to be in? There was a stigma attached to that, just because I grew up in the Midwest,
Conservative.
You know, conservative.
Yeah. You were a young life leader.
Oh yeah, like the evangelical like upbringing and such, and I feel like that served me well. But it is definitely something where I'm a very interesting conundrum to the people around me,
right?
Because it's like, you know, is Dan like in this seedy underworld of evil now, or is Dan like the same dude we've always known?
Well, I think that was kind of the general assumption was, what is Dan doing? All of a sudden, he is peddling vice and sin.
Right, exactly. And the whole point of it is I'm like, truly, like, there are days where I'm in there and it's like, you know, it's a Seahawk game day, and it's, you know, like the 49ers Seahawks game a few weeks ago, and I'm in the bar, and like with every hit going on the TV, everybody's shouting, they're all kind of into it, we're laughing and having a good time, and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I'm so glad I picked this to do. And then, you know, there's the other days where I'm getting in early to help out with stuff, and I'm like, you know, probably just to make life easier for my day shift bartender, I'm going to go ahead and clean the vomit out of the urinal that's down there. You know,
not
so
as cool.
Yeah, so it's
not as sexy.
Right, exactly. So it's like any venture, but what I feel like I like the best about it is the riddle it creates for people. I've actually considered in Bellevue, like, I spend a lot of time just the same, very similar to where at the mortgage company, I would spend more time talking to people about how to fix their son's baseball swing and things like that during the day, a lot of times than we might spend talking about how to clear conditions and get files funded. But in the end, you're giving them an experience that they can find and to be more attached to you and what you're doing. And in the bar, it's the same thing. Like my customers, there's a little something that benefits my business to me being there at times and being available and talking to them about the things that are going on for them. I almost feel like I need to post office hours for when I'm in the bar. Just kind of sit down.
Kind of like when a professor has, what do they call those hours when they're in the office, so you can just go in and say hi.
Right.
Office hours.
Right.
So
like, you know, just maybe it's just like, hey, dating advice, money advice, general life advice, or just tell me an interesting story, you know, like that kind of thing. Like, I think it might I'm actually seriously considering that because I have enough space to do it.
Do you have like a little office space in each of your bars?
I have it in Kenmore. Bellevue is just all bar. There's not really the space there.
So maybe you take one of the booths.
Right, just put an old oak desk in it.
This is Dan.
Right.
Or it's just your booth.
Right. Just
like
kind of come on over. Yeah, come on over.
We don't service this other than when Dan's service.
Right.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.